Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews. It's Gaming Friday. I'm Gary.
And I'm a gay fish.
And today we are taking a look at Extermination, which came out on the 8th of March in 2001. Developed by Deep Space and Sony Interactive Entertainment. And this was an exclusive to the PS2.
God damn it.
And you were already part way into the beginning sort of tutorial introduction
area.
Ian.
Still learning the controls of what this guy can do.
Now, I was a big fan of this game when it came out. I was one of the people that was massively excited for the PlayStation 2, especially when you were starting to see all of these demo videos that were showing all of the games that were going to be coming out. And this was one of the first games on the PlayStation 2, and if not, perhaps the first survival or horror themed game on the PlayStation 2, which made it sort of a must-have in the early library of games that it had available.
You gave me your copy like years ago and you said, "Oh, did you ever play this?" And I'm like, "No, you've got to play this." And I started it, but I kept getting killed really early on, and so I stopped playing it. And then when you said for the reviewers, you were like, "Yeah, we're going to do a review of Extermination." I was like, "Oh no, really?"
It's because I'm going to get to make you play it again. Like, if I finish this game, Ian, then so can you. I've seen the games that you've played and completed, and I'm just like, Ian, I know you'll like this game.
I know, but I just like right now, I've already gone through this part and I'm lost again. I'm lost again. There's the ladders over here that I need to get on.
So the developer Deep Space, as I said, they worked with Sony Interactive, and they were a first-party company.
Yeah.
Although they only ever made, the only other game that they've got listed is Hungry Ghosts.
Okay.
Which again was a PlayStation 2 exclusive, and a game that only came out in Japan.
Oh well.
And I just think it's a shame that that Deep Space doesn't exist anymore. They got shut down in 2002, so basically a year after this game.
Wow.
That they were shut down, and they merged with Access Games.
Okay.
And Access Games have got a few games in their collection, but the one that almost everybody knows would be Deadly Premonition. You aware of that game?
I've heard of it.
It has a massive cult following. It's one of those story, psychological horror, supernatural horror games.
Right.
It's just some bizarre dialogue, but it was really ambitious. With all of the NPC characters had their own schedules within the game.
Right, okay.
But yeah, it's completely different from this stereotypical action-adventure survival horror shooter.
Yeah, this has got a lot of digs into the thing.
I was just about to say, Ian, what influences do you see on this game?
It's the thing. I mean, you've crash landed in your helicopter at this secret facility, and you've got to go in and find all the different experimentations.
That's it. The story takes place on December 24th, Christmas Eve.
Go.
Of 2005.
Nice.
And in a remote research facility in Antarctica, you play as U.S. Marine Dennis Riley.
Yes.
Who is a sergeant, and you have headed to Fort Stewart, where a distress call was sent off. The request was literally asking for the entire facility to be nuked from orbit. Yeah, only way to be sure.
Yeah.
But of course, the government's like, nah.
We want to go find out what it is.
We'll send in like 4 guys to go and find out what happened and secure the base, and if there was any research, sort of get it out of there.
Yeah.
But of course, the helicopter crash lands, and then you and your bro come into the facility. And I like the way that this game, to begin with, sort of builds up your relationship with this other Marine.
Yeah.
I think he's called Roger.
Roger.
And so, of course, everything that could go wrong does go wrong. And it's not long before monsters are running all over the base. And like I said, yeah, it's massively influenced by John Carpenter's The Thing, games like Resident Evil and Dino Crisis, and it's also definitely influenced by James Cameron's The Abyss.
Yes, because the enemies are water-based, aren't they?
That's right. The twist is that the researchers have been doing genetic modification or experiments with water after they had found a virus, which I think they call it HO123.
Okay.
And this virus is water-based and has apparently existed hundreds of thousands of years before humans were ever walking around the planet, and was somehow frozen in the Antarctic.
Right, yeah.
And now they've thawed it out, and it then mutates and infects all of the scientists, and anyone that comes into the facility. Whenever you step in water, I believe, if have any level of infection, the water will do damage to you.
Yeah.
And the enemies thrive in water. But also, I think fire can also aggravate them. And I think they either mutate under fire or die under fire. I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. But, that's the setup for it. And so, basically all of the zombies of Resident Evil are replaced with kind of mindless water-based drones. But the designs of them are still quite interesting and quite hideous. And you, again, not just the placement of being in the frozen Antarctic base, but the monsters also resemble thing-like creatures as well.
I'm on fire. I just ran into fire. Yeah, but at the same time, I remember playing and getting lost very easily at the beginning. He's telling me to go these places, but I'm like, just search everything. Search every door.
Well, as you should do.
Right, coming back to my guy Roger now. I'm hoping there's no cut sequences. For some reason, the cut sequences aren't working properly.
No.
So I am skipping the cut sequences. If you've noticed and you're like, hey, where are they? It's because they're not functioning.
They're not functioning properly. But that's fine. So you haven't played the game all the way through. I haven't played it for a long time, Ian. How's the controls handling for you?
Very loose. I mean, he I'm pressing the analog stick, and obviously he gently walks. But if I push it, he just runs. And if you go to push it, he'll just run in one direction. You're like, oh Christ!
Well, it's like if you play the Resident Evil games, or your character always walks.
Yeah.
And you always have to hold a button down to run. So for me, this game just went, how about you just always run?
You're just always running,
which kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I've got the third person view. I've got first person view if I want it. But I also remember there's ammo is very sparse.
Well, actually, ammo is infinite in this game.
Oh, okay.
But if you bring up your inventory in a second, I think maybe when you get out of the vent,
I'll go back out of this.
You'll realise that you can only hold so much ammo. You can't hold infinite ammo. You start the game only being able to hold 2 clips.
Yes. Yeah.
But whenever you go to an ammo station, it will refill your clips all the time, indefinitely for the whole game.
Nice.
But those ammo stations start to get fewer and far between as the game as the game goes on and gets more difficult, in which case you'll need to remember where those ammo stations are in order to go back and refill.
Yeah.
Now, again, when you get out of here, we'll get your inventory up and...
that was a dead end. I thought I could push that thing open, but
there was an item back there.
Yeah, I did get the item,
which is essentially, it's the same with any survival horror action game. It's going to be a case of go around, find keys, find codes, unlock doors, progress to the next area,
get deeper into it,
but try to have as many supplies left as you can.
Yeah, so we got Dennis.
So right now you can see that your infection level's at 0. On the left there you can see your health, and you're at 90 of 100.
Yeah.
And you also have your gun, and the SPR-4 is the only gun you have the entire game.
But you can customize it.
Exactly. That's one of the exciting things about it. It does it well, so that you can see that you can change the scopes. You can change when you pick up a shotgun attachment. It's not just a little attachment. It's like an actual shotgun gets attached to the bottom of your gun.
Yeah.
You also get flamethrower attachments and rocket attachments, different grips and scopes, and so you customize and upgrade the gun as you're going, and you can also then eventually get more clips in the gun depending on your play style.
Yeah.
But you will need to mix it up depending on what monsters you're fighting and which ammo is best appropriate to take them down in order to progress.
Yeah, because I remember there's really little creatures I remember meeting, and they were a pain in the butt.
Yes.
And then the bigger ones came along, and even though I was finding the little ones a pain, so the bigger ones were just kicking my ass.
Well, with the combat in this game, I tend to find that I shot and killed all the little ones, but the big ones, it was a lot easier to run away.
Yeah.
And just like I said with Dino Crisis, and I've said with Resident Evil, if you're a speed runner, or you're more competent at the game, or you actually want to finish the game, you need to learn which to pick your fights.
Yeah.
You need to know when you have to run, because monsters are plentiful in this game. Now, of course, there are certain events in the game which you are expected to fight, and so you will need to have reserved ammo and health in order to combat those situations.
Yeah.
But then, for the most part, again, you'll be running away. Now, there's another handicap that this game has, which is it just adds to the frustration feel. I understand it as a game dynamic, but certain enemies, when they attack you, will cause you to become infected, as you saw on the menu screen just now. Now, when you're infected, that's when water will do additional damage to you, and as it goes on, it will continue to do more damage to you. Enemies will do more damage to you, and if your infection reaches maximum, you die.
Yes.
Now, in order to prevent your infection reaching 100, you need to go to a medical facility or a medical pod, which will clean you of your infection level. Those become, again, a lot scarcer towards the end of the game, so in order to survive, you need to avoid the enemies, because as soon as they hit you, they'll infect you, and that will just keep going and backtrack and so forth and so forth. So it's a little bit of a hindrance, but I can understand it being in the game.
Oh, that light's turned green. I'm going to run down there and get the door.
Now, interestingly, as another dynamic to the game, instead of having like ink ribbons or finding batteries all the time, you have a battery with you throughout the whole game.
But you've got to keep the energy up to be able to spend it on the saving point.
That's right. You use the battery on the healing pods, you use the battery to open plot doors, and you also use the battery on other systems for supplies. But then you'll always need to go and take that battery back to a battery charging station.
Yes.
So you also need to remember where those are. Once you start getting an idea of the map and where all of the things are, it does get a lot easier, so you can zip back and forth where you need to be, collect the ammo, go heal yourself, and carry on.
Yeah.
But it does feel a little bit repetitive after a while.
Yeah. It sounds it. The dynamic of trying to keep yourself alive all the time, is just going back and forth.
Yes.
Getting that energy up so you can save it, and then going and getting the different ammo, and then trying to go through the room, and obviously, like I said, picking your fight, so you're running past X amount of monsters to get to the next big boss, and then when you get to him, you're like, I gotta fucking save it now anyway.
So yeah, now the game has a pretty simplistic tutorial. It shows you how to jump, how to fire your gun, how to crouch, how to interact with the environment. But there's one crucial thing that the game tutorial area does not tell you, and that is how to dodge. And that is when an enemy is charging at you, you literally sidestep and roll out of the way.
Oh, right, okay.
If you don't master how to do that, you will again not get very far.
How do you dodge?
That's a good question. I've reacquired this game literally to refill the nostalgia, and to be able to say to people, hey, if you've played every survival horror game that you can think of, maybe you missed this one. If not, maybe come back and have a look at this one. And I've got to say, I think the game has held up fairly well, considering it was almost a launch title for the PS2.
God, that thing will die.
Now, I think on that creature you also saw that it had a glowy spot.
Yeah, you have to aim for that.
When you find the larger creatures later on, they will also have glowy spots, which of course you'll do additional damage to, and is also sometimes the only way to kill those creatures.
It's coming for me.
The game, towards the end, does get a little bit ridiculous with one of the enemy types that comes in, and that is the enemy, the mutant with machine guns. It's basically, imagine a thing creature but firing machine guns at you.
Wow. Okay.
So, and obviously those guns will also destroy the crates and the breakable objects, so you end up running out of cover, and that is when you literally need to fight it and kill it quickly, or run from door to door.
Yeah.
And hope that you can get away from it.
Do the enemies follow you? I mean, we said it in Dino Crisis. Dino Crisis had the enemies coming through doors.
No, in this one
stopped.
They don't. They are limited to the rooms that they spawn in. I don't remember any jump scenarios where they would come through at you. See, I didn't really find this game very scary. It's not that high on the horror scale, but it's kind of one of those panic things where it's a new creature, you don't know how to fight it, you don't know the environment, you don't know where the supplies are, and you start running through random doors hoping that it's unlocked.
Yeah.
So that's the best it does for horror. It has some moments of gore, but it's not really explicit. And
can I shoot that lock? Or do I need a key?
You're gonna need a key.
I need a key.
You always need a key. It's the same with all the survival horror games. It's like, I've got a grenade launcher with fire rounds and this wooden door is locked. It's like you can't climb over knee-high surfaces either.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get over there.
You can't just hug up over those boxes. Right, if I was a key, where would I be?
So, in a speed run, you could probably finish this game in about 5 hours.
Wow.
Which, is about standard for a lot of survival horrors. Once you've got the grips with them and you know your way around, it can be done pretty quickly. But a first-time player coming at the game, I can imagine that you could take up to about 15 hours learning all of the maps and locations and weapon upgrades and monster types and surviving the boss fights.
Yeah, trying to survive the boss fights, that's the main thing, because obviously if you die, the save could be miles back. Right, there's a door over there. I'm going to head for that door. Got to keep your eyes out for all these different doors.
So what do you think of the voice acting in the game, Iain?
That's a bit questionable, but then at the same time it's PS2, and they didn't exactly put a lot of time into scripting brilliant conversational pieces between two actors who one of them's just going to end up dead anyway.
That's true. It was kind of the norm for survival horror games to have bad voice acting. I think Silent Hill really was an exception for really good voice acting.
I don't know, Mason, is it Harry Mason in the first one?
Yeah.
He's got a bit of a questionable script.
True. But when you compare it to Resident Evil,
yeah.
But Resident Evil it's kind of on that plateau of being so bad it's awesome, especially the dialogue in the original release. So the dialogue in this one, it is very ham-fisted and very clumsy, and it tries to be smart, but it really comes across as really cheesy and quite bad.
How am I going to get up there? Can I go this side? No.
I also think it's interesting that the main character of Dennis Riley underwent a complete transformation in his different releases.
Yeah.
In the original release, I think they thought he looked too Japanese because he had the manga-style haircut.
Yeah.
So they gave him a bit of a redesign to
get him past,
appeal to more audiences.
Because not everybody's a fan of the anime style. Right, I can't get past there.
But yeah, I do appreciate the B-movie style voice acting. It kind of makes this feel like a B-movie.
But this is the thing. I mean, like I said, this is what stopped me from playing it at home. Is I know I've got to get up to that vent.
Yeah. And
so I'm like, okay, so I can't go this way. This way's locked.
Right.
Can't go this way because that's all blocked off. And you just get lost.
Well, that's because this game does something that no other survival horror game has done. And that is you have the ability to rappel, and you have the ability to Solid Snake style crawl across ceilings. This game also has, and this is probably the biggest criticism I have for the game, is that later on there is an abundance of platforming. Jumping from hanging crate to hanging crate.
Wow.
And should you fall, you will take damage. You'll have to run back around to the ladder, climb all the way back up, and start jumping again from platform to platform to platform. And it is really, really frustrating. Really annoying. And that's just one of the only things that I don't look forward to when replaying this game. Now, again, once you get it down, you'll be fine, and you'll be like, I don't know what Gary's talking about. Platforming's fine. But if you just can't jump from the exact location to the one that you think you're going to, and the game just jumps off to the side, you're just kind of like, damn it, is it the camera angles? Is it the controls, or is it me?
That's it. There is no control over the camera unless you go into third person and move the camera yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've got to constantly stop every now and again and check myself. Right, I'm going that way. Yeah. That's the way I'm going.
There is a button to center the camera directly behind you, but it won't center behind you if you're moving. You have to be standing completely still, and then you can put the camera directly behind you. And now in a game where I would strongly recommend running away from every monster, it's like you run around a corner and you can't see what's coming, but you want to keep running, but you need to stand perfectly still to rebalance the camera. It's so irritating.
What is the point of this? I literally just climbed all the way up here for nothing.
Yeah, well, if the room should suddenly become filled with monsters, you can have an advantage point.
Oh, no, I snuck past. Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, see, there's lots of crawling around and looking around and platforming, which you just, people have often said that survival horror genre got stale And I guess at least this one was trying to do something different to try and rebalance and not go too far into the action sort of aspect of it, even though it still definitely does that.
Okay.
So what did you collect up there?
Back here. A memo. I picked up a memo from the dead body up there.
Was that it?
That was it. I climbed all the way up there for a memo. God damn it, game. God, I can't push these crates because these crates look like you could do something with them other than climb on top of them.
Other than destroy them.
I could destroy it, yeah. Just blow it up. Oh, okay.
And just release more.
More of those creatures. Yeah, I don't want to do that. So I'm heading for this vent over here.
So I also think that the game's soundtrack and the music score is really good. It creates a decent enough atmosphere. It has the moments of action and the moments of horror and the moments of suspense. You know, it's nothing to write home about. It's not as memorable as, say, Silent Hills or Resident Evil's iconic music pieces, but it still does the job.
Yeah, and it is one of those games that if you're looking for a different type of survival horror aspect than what you're already used to, it's definitely up there. It's just be prepared to go through that same learning curve of how you went through the other survival horror games before you got good at them.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally cannot find a way to get in there. There's a fence there in front of those boxes and at the vent. So, okay. Right.
So would you recommend the game to survival horror fans or PlayStation fans or modern gamers?
If you're a PlayStation fan and you never played it, then definitely get a copy of it. Can I jump on that pipe? I'm just wondering.
Crawl along?
I'm just wondering because it's a different.
It's just
colour.
low enough.
Yeah. If you're a survival horror fan, I'm pressing the jump button. It's not up there. About up there. If you're a survival horror fan, then yes. But be prepared, like I said, to go through those
a bit of a learning curve.
hard learning curves of trying to work out where the hell you've got to go. Once again, Extermination, you've got me because I'm freaking lost again. I'm going out this door. I know this door works, so I'm going out this door.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the game. Like I said, there's only a small real window of survival horror games, and right now I'm just enjoying reliving some of those games from memory because the modern interpretations or the modern survival horror games are just lacking maybe that old school feel, and
yes,
just
the nostalgic
feel that craving for that style of game right now. And this is definitely a highlight. Like I said, it still it has its frustrating moments.
Yes.
As Ian is currently experiencing, and like I said, this is one of the few that I have yet to replay myself. So I'm sorry you've guinea pigged.
Yeah.
Re-exploring this one for me.
Do you know what's frustrating me is the fact that I bet you it's really freaking simple.
I expect so.
I bet you I'll look back and be like, oh, that's where I had to
It reminds me when I was playing Parasite Eve and I couldn't find the key in the first area.
Yeah. That's a good one. There's not something shiny over here, is there? It's a freaking alien. It's a freaking alien over here.
So the game, other than our recommendations for the game, when the game came out, it only got average reviews, which is why I would think that the game didn't reach as big of an audience as it could have done.
Yeah.
They questioned the game's graphics, and I think the graphics are okay. Like I said, they're kind of when the PlayStation 2 was having its showcases and demoing all of these great games, I think the graphics were, the next level of obviously the next generation of hardware, and so the demos looked nicer than perhaps the games that actually came out were, and so the game was slightly criticized for it. But I don't think the game looks ugly at all. I think it still holds up quite nicely. And like I said, there's some good amounts of detail, and then in some of the cut sequences, maybe sometimes not so much. Like I said, gameplay wise, it is, it's a Solid Snake action shooter with horrible John Carpenter style monsters, some annoying platform sections, easy enough to get lost in, but still.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Shit, he ran too far now. I've hurt my knee. And that's the thing. I'm racking my brains now of where I'm supposed to go, but I know that if I had 5 or 6 hours spare, and this game and the PS2 there, you could really just get lost into it, and then once you find the way that you're supposed to go, just go with the story.
For sure.
But it's locked. It's still locked.
It's still locked in.
It's still locked.
Alright, well, I'm going to bring this episode to a close as Ian still struggles and runs around and tries to find the key.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back next Friday having a look at another video game, of course. Film reviews on Thursdays. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Patreon. Take it easy.
I've got to get up there and I don't know how.
Go back to that pipe again, Ian.